Welcome back. It almost seems Sarasota's Rosemary District has blossomed in the blink of an eye. What were once vacant lots not long ago are now or about to be trendy condos and apartments marketed to the young, the hip, and the wealthy. There is no doubt when these brand spanking new buildings are occupied, it will transform downtown Sarasota with the sheer number of new residents shopping, eating, and enjoying what will be a growing local downtown. But with rents for a one-bedroom apartment starting at over $1,500 a month, the obvious question is who will be able to afford them? And joining us for more are Sarasota realtor Ian Black and Dan Loback, an activist concerned about controlling growth in Sarasota. Gentlemen, welcome to you both. And Ian, let me start with you, because on one hand, this seems incredibly exciting. You know, I drive by these new projects every single day, and I could only imagine when people are living in these units and shopping and eating downtown, it's really going to transform downtown Sarasota even more to an exciting place to live and to work.
Well, Sarasota is, Alan, reflective of what is happening in most urban environments or communities across the nation. So we're experiencing something similar here in Sarasota. The Rosemary District happened to be one, you can't, if you look at Sarasota, it's difficult to go south, it's difficult to go west, and it's difficult to go east. So the logical place for Sarasota to increase its size and its economic vitality is obviously the Rosemary District.
My question, though, is with rents starting, as Taylor reported, a one-bedroom starting at a little bit more than $1,500 a month, who really can afford that? If we know this is a very wealthy community, but if you're talking about young urban professionals moving in and you look at what salaries are around here, it doesn't seem to match up.
Well, I don't know whether that is altogether accurate, Alan. Your report, talked with the city side people who would tend to suggest that they have a good cross-section of different types of income-related people maybe sharing apartments, young professionals. I know there's a land planner that has a unit in there. You have, retired couples. You have younger professionals. I know that because we've just reformed the Rosemary District Association, and primarily there's, I think, 2 representatives from Cityside or residents who are young and vibrant and bringing a new energy to the neighborhood. What the increased density did was provide the opportunities for the developers to provide diversity so that they can provide a mix of 1 units, 2 units, 3 units in their projects.
Yeah, but with all respect to you, and I respect you immensely, you're not getting a diversity in terms of income. For that $1,500, you're getting a 570 square foot teeny little place. There's not room for more than 1 person. And then you look at the rents for reasonably sized apartments, and you're talking about $3,500, $5,000. So the rents are not cheap. And so the people that work in the restaurants, the blue-collar workers, the service workers in our community are not being provided a housing opportunity in that area.
Let me ask you this, because where these units are going up, which are really right down the street from here, before the construction began, they were eyesores, they were empty lots, not doing much of anything, one way or the other. Is it good to bring these buildings in and the vibrancy that will come with it?
You'd have that in any event with the market having rebounded. The Rosemary Overlay District that tripled densities from 25 units an acre to 75 units an acre started in 2014. And it's since that time that you've seen the real estate market rebound. Nobody knows that better than Ian. And so you would be seeing more vitality there, as you have, throughout Florida. The question is, what kind of development do you have? Does it serve a broad range of needs of housing in the community? And sometimes does it get to be too much? Traffic is a factor too.
I would respectfully disagree with Dan, no shocker to that. But the purpose of the Rosemary Overlay District was not to improve or increase affordability. It was to rejuvenate and reinvigorate the Rosemary district, which was left basically the poor stepchild of the city of Sarasota for many years. It was, you know, when you look at the CRA that was created, I would say little or no money, comparatively speaking, was spent in the Rosemary district. So to enable developers to increase the diversity of offerings from smaller units to bigger units and larger units. If your density is 25 units an acre, the developer is mandated to build larger units that are even more unaffordable than what's on offer now.
Ian, let me ask you this, because it does occur to me that you're going to have an influx of people who can afford these rents. I would imagine these buildings are going to be filled up because they wouldn't have been built if there wasn't the demand out there. Sure. But I'm wondering where the people who work the landscaping and work the restaurants and the little shops that are all going to be doing business from all this influx, where are they going to live?
Well, obviously, the big concern is that a lot of them are living outside the community and then having to drive into the community to go to work, which is not an acceptable situation. And probably Dan and I may agree on the question of affordability. But at the end of the day, if we're going, affordability is a whole different issue, which necessarily I personally don't believe that either our city or our county have necessarily paid anything other than lip service to the question of affordability. Finally, I know at Sarasota County it is a priority with them. They're already making some significant land changes to zoning to enable or to incentivize or to make, for example, they've reduced the parking requirement for smaller units.
Dan, do you agree with Ian on that regard in terms of, be it as it may, the city and the county have not done a good job in finding enough housing for people who service?
That's because the development interests control the politicians. And so they're going to get everything they want. They're going to treat Sarasota County like a sardine can, not just within the municipalities, but unlimited urban sprawl. And that's what they're getting. I mean, in terms of Ian saying, you know, let's pack them in here so that we don't pack them anywhere else. So they're being packed in everywhere. And the traffic is becoming horrendous. And what we need are controls. And in terms of affordable housing, what we need is what's called inclusionary zoning. I've advocated this for decades, that for a developer to get density increases, they have to provide significant affordable housing. And the city is not doing that, the county's not doing that. The city's talking about it a little bit, but little small incentives you can buy your way out of cheap.
Ian, we have less than 30 seconds, but where is the saturation point in terms of how do developers know when they're not going to be able to build more because there is not the demand for it?
Well, one would like to think that developers are responsible and that they do their homework, and in most cases they're requiring financing, and to get financing you have to demonstrate that there's going to be absorption. I think the big question right now, you know, approximately 1,000 rental units will be coming on the market approximately at the same time. You know, that in of itself, we don't know the impacts of supply and demand, economics 101. You did not mention another project that is going on Fruitful Road, that is Bold Lofts, which my understanding is that they're going to be less than what you've quoted for similar units.
I wish we had more time, but gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Before we go, we want to share with you what some of you had to say about Friday's exclusive interview with John Peacock, who was fired from his head coaching position at Venice High School. We also spoke to former Venice High Indian Trey Burton, who now plays in the NFL. Peacock was fired for liking a tweet put out by one of his players. The tweet was viewed by many as racist, which led to his firing. We went to Facebook to hear your thoughts, and Ron says, I backed the coach even before Trey Burton said anything, and that is true. The politics in Venice are unreal. Preston says, but if it was the other way, you would not feel that way. A coach or parent should not ever condone the behavior. If he would have told his player to take down the post instead of liking it, maybe he would still have his job. And Keisha says, our family supports Coach Peacock and believe that it was a terrible mistake. Is that Was that Coach Bradley intended? Sour grapes got a highly respected coach fired. Well, if you'd like to join the conversation on tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/mysuncoast.com.abc7. And FYI, you can watch past discussions on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. We want to thank our first two guests tonight, Sarasota Realtor Ian Black and Dane Loback, an activist concerned about controlling growth in Sarasota.